Oh my god. Alright, this is Rick from R&M Reviews. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the GUS G22. Alright, so the GUS G22, it is available for purchase on atmomixani.com. The spelling on that is atmomixani.gr. I believe the purchase price is right around 77 euros. It's currently not listed on their site. They do also have the GUS telescopic. Currently, as it's set up, this is the 18650 mode, though it does also come in 18350 mode and 18500 mode, depending on what tube you get. The additional tubes are 14 euros, or 14.76 euros, so that comes out to right around 18 extra dollars per additional tube you get. Right off the bat, for the value, you can't really go wrong. It's right around 100 bucks, and I actually got mine at a brick-and-mortar retail shop called Vape Rev. A really cool guy, Harley, sold it to me. Huge shout out to Harley. Thank you so much. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. Couldn't have been more helpful. Vape Rev. I'm sorry for those of you that don't live in California, or Los Angeles in particular, or at least Southern California. Vape Rev is just awesome. Huge selection of mechanical mods and rebuildable atomizers, as well as some just epic juices, and some that are only available through Vape Rev. If you haven't been down, you live in the SoCal area, definitely go and check it out. Some really cool stuff there. And for really reasonable prices. I mean, I walked out of the door, I think I paid $100 flat for my GUS G22, which is about as good a deal as you can get anywhere. I mean, I could probably go and flip this on the classifieds for probably $140 right now without a problem. Yeah, really solid deal. Show you a couple of quick close-ups before I get into it. You can see the GUS engraving on there. It does have 4 vent holes. It does have a locking switch. Brass contacts in both the ground and positive connections. The threads, one interesting note, they are identical to those of the Caravella and the GP PAPs. It is actually the entire device identical to the GP PAPs. The only difference is the engravings. I know GUS and GP, I don't know all of the details of the situation, but they were in a partnership together, and then they split up for whatever reason. So the GUS and the GP PAPs are identical, as are the Piccolo and the GUS G16, or at least the Piccolo V2 or V2.5 is identical to the G16, down to the very last detail. But one other thing worth noting is that the threads, because they are 20 by 1mm threading, the parts are all compatible with those of the Caravella. So here's my Caravella 18650 mode. Actually going to use the matte tube so you can see the distinction a little bit better. Alright, in the foreground, Caravella, background, GUS. So GUS tube, Caravella button, Caravella top cap, lovely. Then here we have Caravella tube with GUS top cap. Perfect. Now that you've seen that, I'm going to get into the full breakdown of everything and show you what's up with the GUS G22. Here's the assembled top cap, and as you can see, it does have slots cut into it. See these 4. That's for the sake of allowing airflow to pass when you're using a tank system that has bottom-fed airflow, like say an Odysseus or a Cardo tank, God forbid. It's nice that people who use those devices have that option. Personally, I would have loved to see GUS omit that from the design, or at least offer a replacement cap that didn't have the slits for the sake of us Genesis users who, though our devices will now sit flush on the top cap, we'll have these 4 unsightly little cutouts between the top cap and our Addy. So that's that. And then you can see it does have a nice little brass contact in there. And flip it around to the other side. Threads are 20 by 1 millimeter, meaning that they are the exact same as the Carvela, as well as the bare brass mods and the GP PAPs. So that's the bottom side of the top cap. You can see a little white Delrin insulator and the positive contact with the hot spring. Okay, here's the positive contact, as you can see. The screw portion of it is brass, whereas this hot spring here, I believe it's stainless steel, but whatever it is, it's so when you adjust the positive contact to fit with the connection in your 510 atomizer, that gives you a little bit of give within the tube for your battery to make proper contact. So that's one nice feature, and if you do suffer a hard short in your atomizer, this spring will collapse, and that occurs when a certain amount of current attempts to pass through the spring. That'll generate heat and it'll just collapse, so it'll close the circuit, so it'll potentially protect you from any bodily harm as a result of failing batteries. I think that's the intent there. The way it manifests is it is a serious current inhibitor, and I would definitely advise finding some solution to replace that with just a solid brass contact. What I've done is I just use Carvela contact. One of my spares, you can see the threading is exactly the same. I just screw that into my GUS top cap instead of the stock positive post. Alright, right now I'm going to be doing a short voltage under load test. Now this is also going to be a brief demo just to show people how to use a multimeter to test the voltage under load. So the first thing we're going to do, got our positive lead, here the red, ground lead, or negative lead in my right hand, here it's the black. Just going to check the voltage of the battery. Alright, voltage right now is 4.109. First thing we're going to be testing, voltage under load using the stock brass pin with the hot spring. And, this is a MNKE IMR 18650, 1500 milliamp hours. So, to test the voltage under load, and put the battery in the mod. Pull your top cap off. Now this is a standard DID with all brass contacts. Now what we're going to do here, first attach the ground lead. Really the ground lead can go anywhere on the atomizer to do this correctly, but I'm just going to stick it on the ground screw just to avoid any confusion. Then the positive lead, it's going to go on the positive post. Also, quickly, I will check the resistance. 1.0. Okay, here's the voltage under load. I will set it to max. Okay, 3.098. Now I'm going to pull out the stock post and in exchange replace it with my solid Carvela post. It is kind of a tight fit in there, but it will go in nicely. Just make sure it's locked all the way up. It is. Screw that back on. Reattach our leads. Then test the voltage under load. 3.717. So the original one was 3.098 versus 3.717. So that is a significant increase in voltage under load. So as you can see, that hot spring really is a serious current inhibitor. I would definitely advise running your GUS with something like the Caravella contact. Now, for the sake of saving time, I have already broken down the GUS switch into all of its basic components. Now, the one thing that I left out is the kind of crescent-shaped metal disc. That's what secures onto this groove here, and I'll show that when I show the fully assembled button, but that's basically what holds the entire switch together. So, from left to right, we have the black Delrin insulator, the full switch housing, the locking ring, the spring, and the plunger. Here's how you assemble the GUS switch. First, going to start with the locking ring and the switch housing. And take the switch housing, the side that has the thinner threads, then the part of the locking ring. See, this part is recessed here versus flush on this side. I'm going to screw the flush end facing the switch housing. Take the spring, there's the wider end, that kind of chokes off at the end, and take the wider end, place it in the recessed part of the switch housing. And one important thing to remember is you do want to make sure that your spring is nice and clean, and also the area within the recessed area of the switch housing, the inner diameter there. You want to make sure that's nice and clean. Slide that in. Next up, going to take the plunger into the hole right there. Make sure everything is working smoothly. And then next thing is you're going to attach the little crescent-shaped piece of metal. I have actually just cut up a piece of a paper clip and formed that because I find it's a little bit easier to get on and off. Just save time here, I'm going to do this off camera. Once you have the crescent little locking ring secured, it'll look something like that. That's mine with my kind of ghetto raid paper clip. But it works perfectly. It's not actually part of the circuit, so it doesn't really need to look pretty. It just needs to hold it on there. And, yeah, that's it. And the next part, you're going to take your little black Delrin insulator. The flanged part is going to go on top, as you can see. It'll have the little chamfered edge on this end. Chamfered edge will go in. This does require quite a bit of force to get it all the way in there. And we're in. See, that's nice and flush. Then, if you can tell, the contact, it does sit below the Delrin. That's what's important about it. So then we test it. Perfect. So here's the switch housing. This close-up is really just for the sake of showing the threads here. But as you can see, they're smooth, but they're not perfect. There are some slight burrs here and there. As for the rest of the machining, it's good. It's not perfect, but considering the price point that we're talking about here, which is roughly $100, I'd say it's more than adequate. Here's the locking ring. I'm not a huge fan of this knurling. Personally, I think it looks kind of cheap. It does get dirty fairly quickly, and it is difficult to clean. It works though. It serves its purpose. Here's the inside of the locking ring. Then here's the back side. Here, as you can see, is the black Delrin insulator. One of the big downfalls of this button design, and the same goes for the Timon and the D16, is that this Delrin, while the entire mod itself will potentially last you a lifetime, these parts, in order to pry it out because it is pressed in with so much force, using a screwdriver is really your only option to get it out. The edges do get kind of chewed up a little bit when you do that. So it still works fine, and it will continue to work, but if you are going to be disassembling your Switch for the sake of maintenance, just to clean everything out, this is eventually going to wear out. Here's the engraving on the bottom of the plunger. You can see Gus's little crown as well as the numbers 22. One other little aesthetic issue I have with the device is that the engravings are extremely faint. I haven't machine buffed this. The only thing that I've done to it, I did give it a tiny wipe down with shark hide just for the review, so it was nice and shiny, but the engravings really don't seem like they're done to last. And for most, I guess, more mechanical mod savvy users, that's going to be kind of a significant downside, but I guess I'm a little bit more anal than most about my engravings and the finishes of my devices, but kind of irks me because I know if down the line I were to ever sell my GUS 22, the fact that the engravings are no longer visible would definitely hurt the resale, but that's kind of a tiny issue, and it's really neither here nor there, but the bottom line is that they just don't hold up. Even so, I think they do look pretty good. Nice and clean. Not a lot going on, which I appreciate. That's pretty much it. And as you can see in the bottom, it does have that small hole, and that does go all the way through to the other end of the plunger. So it serves as another vent hole. Now, one thing that I can't really figure out with this device is, if you see in there, so maybe from, if you can see the hole in the center of the plunger, it is threaded. That leaves me with some questions. I don't know why that is. It's not like you can add an additional contact there. Just kind of a curiosity. It makes me think that they started with some form of stock tubing that already had that thread drilled and tapped in there, and I don't know, just it leaves me with some doubts, but doesn't really serve any function. It's just there. It is what it is, but I think one excellent aspect of the GUS is that the contact is integrated into the plunger, so it does eliminate one major point of contact. So it is going to be a little bit more electronically efficient than, say, the Caravella switch even, which you have a contact screwing into the plunger, and then that whole assembly screws into the switch housing. It's just one plunger, and it's held together with the little crescent-shaped ring. So, cool touch. Really simple construction, which I appreciate, and of course it is brass, and brass has improved conductivity over stainless steel, and that's always a huge advantage, but that's pretty much it for the plunger. Alright, so in conclusion, gotta say, the GUS, though I might have come off as a little bit critical on it, the bottom line is I do take it out almost every day. It's really an awesome alternative to days when I'm not totally comfortable with taking my Caravella out for whatever reason, but for the money, $100, really can't go wrong. I can't think of a less expensive mechanical on the market that, or less expensive, or one that's competitively priced to the GUS that I would suggest. Even the PAPS, I mean, the PAPS, it does have those kind of gaudy engravings. It says a big PAPS right down the side of the tube, which I don't really love. GUS, really solid. And again, a final thank you to Vape Rev and in particular Harley Mike. Really fucking bitchin' store. Everything from, they got the GUS, the G22s, the GUS telescopic, they got the 69 by atmomixani. I've got the Roller by Atmozoo. Precise Plus is in there. They got the Bliss TI. They have those with both 1 and 2 air holes. Really impressive range of juices. Really got everything in there. Really helpful staff. If you live in SoCal and you haven't been, definitely worth taking a trip down there. Just awesome. So thank you guys at Vape Rev, and hopefully I'll be down later this weekend. I got to pick up some more juice from you guys actually, and probably going to pick up a 69 while I'm there. But really happy. GUS, not the highest end mechanical mod, far from the lowest end, but it just vapes. It does what it's supposed to do extremely well. And even with the stock positive post, it's not perfect again, but there's a very simple fix for every basic problem one can have with a mechanical mod, and that really is the beauty of them. If any mechanical mod I have breaks or it's not working the way I want it to, I know that a quick trip down to the hardware store can usually solve my problem. Yeah, really happy. And I guess that's all. I'll take a couple of quick polls to just kind of finish this off in my normal fashion. Then I think we'll call it a review. There you go. That's pretty much all I got for you guys, and hope you enjoyed. In the near future, I will have a review of the Fatty V2 coming up, which I also got at Vape Rev, and again, thank you, Harley, for that one as well. And following that, got a review of the iHybrid Synthesis coming up, and hopefully a few more after that. So hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good shit, and happy vaping.